Доброго ранку.
Good morning, everyone. And the first topic for today, the first year of public television reform, victories and challenges. Our guests are Zurab, Alasaniia, chairman of the board of PJSC, National Public Broadcasting Company of Ukraine, Vadym, Miskyi, program director of NGO Detector Media, Ihor Rozkladai, lawyer of the Media Law Institute, Reanimation Package of Reform expert, and we will be joined by Viktor, Taran, member of the Supervisory Board of the National Public Broadcasting Company of Ukraine, head of the Eidos Center, and he will be our moderator. And now I give the floor to Zurab, Alasaniia, chairman of the board. Thank you. Thank you. What is the main aim of our meeting? Are you really interested what is going on in public broadcasting? Yes, you are interested, right? It is a weird thing that I've encountered. People, they support us, but you know that there are many different things that happened in this year, and people ask why we do these things, and we are interested what will be next, and in tens of years we will be able to build something like BBC, and for us this is really true, and this is not about treason or victory. And we reformed this company this year, and people, they should get proper information about this, and this is communication gap, and we should bring this information. People understand that this changes were introduced, and they were really difficult, and we made a lot of efforts and continue to implement these changes. 28 broadcasters we had, and they managed themselves, and the heads were the head of administration submitted the candidatures, and this went through the cabinet of ministers, and the president, maybe he didn't know every person in the oblasts who had these broadcasters, and which created the company in one oblast, but you know that if we are speaking about national companies, the first national channel, 1, 2, and 3, they appointed from the cabinet of ministers or the presidential administration selected these people, and those people who appointed these heads of broadcasters, they had influence on them. And in Lviv, there was a company, they had 315 people, and in Sumy there were 106, and they provided nearly the same content, the same volume of content. And also there was state order, and it is rather difficult, so all the money is state money, and for example, if you got 100 hryvnias, you should provide a product that costs 100 hryvnias, and this is not, you cannot change plans, and you should provide a yearly plan, and you should just follow this plan without any changes. It was like that before, and now we have independent policy, and I can swear on the Bible that no one interferes in our work. We have full creative freedom. And the question about content, you may ask us about content. And the independent policy, editorial policy, we really have it now. And we had 28 broadcasters. Now we have one that is managed from Kiev, and there are regional platforms. So television and other and transport, and we in this case we mean the centers there. We call them regional offices, and we have 3 radio channels in the center, and television, and in the regions. And in the center they are separate, and in the regions they are together, they are joined. And it is a rather difficult process to separate them. Also transparency. Let me see. So what we have here, yes, this is the heads of the regional offices. The managerial and creative functions were separated, and there is proper strategy, and this managers board. And I've tried to separate these strategies concerning this, and we separated creative and administrative process. There is director, and he decides whether the program will be screened. And for me, I couldn't understand why and how to separate those functions. And during the contest, we've searched for managers and for producers. So managers should provide material things, you should understand finances, you should have knowledge what to do with the state budget, and this is really an important thing, because even such managers as Viktor Taran, it is difficult for him to do this, but we found people who can really do this, and they should not interfere in creative things. And then we selected creative people who can be producers, and according to the strategy, in the strategy we established where we should move, and these producers, they dealt with the creative things, and also executive producers in classic American understanding where to get money from. Of course, we had some difficulties, but for 2 weeks 230 people participated and selected these people, and we didn't have complaints about this contest. We didn't know these people. These people just came. Of course, we got information. We collected this information before, and the contest itself was the top of the iceberg. So there was an interview, 19 managers and 22 producers. Why 19 managers? So we've selected only those who really correspond to the positions. So several in Lviv we do not have managers, and in Dnipro we will have one more selection process. Average age 36, 34 years. So the average age is younger now. So the collegiality of decision taking according to law, this is the collegial body. We vote together. I have 2 votes as the head, and and in a year, I didn't add 2 votes from myself, and we work with the supervisory board. They get together more often, and they are not paid for the job. They are not the staff of the company, they are volunteers, but they gather and they have consensus. So in this way, we take decisions, the quality of content, and we do not PR a lot. And we have 47 new programs and 25 big projects, such as Eurovision, Paralympics, and we really did it. And of course, we have some underfinancing. So those things that are not maybe not so interesting, but this is really important information. There is such an information on the official site. We have all our decisions, all the documents, B2B, business to business. If you need any document, any minutes of our meetings, or the cost of any square meter in our facility, we have all this information there. You can find this information on the site of our organization. So here we have rent. We've signed 56 agreements, and we have 5,651.2 meters, and also we became so administration first provided us the square meters for 1 hryvnia. Now we are provided the meters for proper money. Otherwise, they said we should return them back, and there was a struggle, and there were problems with the land, and the local councils also we have disputes with them, and now we are trying to maximally get rid of everything that doesn't belong to National Public Broadcasting Company. And the same is with equipment. If there is something poisonous as in your fridge, should you eat it? Maybe, but you will die from this. So people who are directors, they when they were provided with this equipment by businessmen, and they created some programs for them for this before. So what can we do? What can we do with this? We should return these things, and we've collected all around the country, and we've bought equipment for ourselves, and we've returned everything that we had from other people and organizations back. And some people address us, and they say, please return our equipment. And they say, in Kniaza Romanova we have our premises, and now we bring this to Wysoki Zamek. On all Lvivshina says they kill radio. It stayed there for 50 years. But what can I do if something is not ours? If you have something poisonous in your fridge, you should just throw it away. The same situation in Mykolaiv. because equipment is taken by former director, because his friend owns this equipment and provided it free of charge before. So a lot can be said about it, but let's move forward. All those premises that we leave, we sometimes try to lease. Some premises we returned. Many people they left, more than 3,000, and those facilities that we use to earn money, and we rent these premises, but only to those who really share the same spirit with us. For example, we do not rent to alcohol stores, but for example, Urban Space is such a wonderful restaurant, so they spend a lot of money for social projects, and we've liked the idea. And in Grinchenko Street, we also provided facility for them, and they want to do the same in Kiev. They started in Frankivsk, and they will do it in Kharkiv, and or Veteran Hub. They also do repair works on some premise of ours, so we try to rent to those who share our ideas, our spirit. So this is our new site that we've launched. There is all the information. So also there was a miracle. Some people who worked in Olivets several years ago. There was really good life there, and all commercial channels were presented there. And then this premise was not so popular. It is a Soviet-style premise, but in a year we were able to bring many people there, and they started to do things there. We ran this premise, and they launched a Christmas party there, and they earned 100,000 hryvnias in one night, and many people, young people, joined. And on the 1st of January we came there, and everything was clear, everything was cleaned, and there was some weird spirit there, but we didn't find anything suspicious. And Olympics fan zone, and they discussed these things, and this fan zone, it was really great, and the premise is really big, and there were lectures and many other things, and festivals, corporate events, excursion lectures, book crossings, and there are books, and old workers say that these ideas won't work, and they believe that books would be stolen, but no one steals. People read the books and they return them. So we should trust people. And fun zones for Olympics, Paralympics, and Eurovision, there were several thousands of people, and there was press conference held, and about the audit, Ernst & Young, according to decision of Supervisory Board and the Council of Europe, Ernst & Young was selected as an auditor, and we are undergoing this audit, and there were some problems. MFZ. This is financial reporting, and Ernst & Young, they understand that these documents, they should be, and in Zhytomyr and Kharkiv and everywhere, they have it in Word format. And sometimes they have it on paper, or they do not have anything at all, so they do not correspond to international standards. You report to Ernst & Young, but you do not have proper reporting, and you should just prepare everything. And Ernst & Young says that we didn't provide reports for them, but we will do this. And this report will be the point from which we will start, and we will do everything properly. And practice for students, 43 students participated, and some electronic documentation and documentation processing, and we have paper documents, but electronic documents are really important as well. And also organization of staff. We had 7,318 people. Now we have 4,510, and we have 500 vacancies. So we have about 4,000 people. So we've did it in accordance with our reform. So this 7,318, it was on October 2017. Now we have another figure. So this is the staff and where they work and their number. It was 80 per 20, 80 administrative and 20 creative in percentage. So 3% were for production and 97 for the support of the company. So I will show these pictures. This is salary, and these are our programs that we've launched. And I would like to give the floor, and you may see this picture. This is finances, the deficit in 2018. Red shows the deficit, and you see that it looks badly. So this is half year. And those people who are here, they know and they have decision. They how to solve this problem. They know how to do it. So this is the attitude of the state towards our company throughout the years. So you see this trend, and this is all I wanted to say. So this is our work that was done, and Supervisory Board really helped us. We worked as volunteers, and we've worked several hours a week, and Vadym worked every day, and he helped Zurab on the first stage to deal with these issues, and it was rather difficult, and there are several challenges. Before Suspilne, this is underfinancing, and we are speaking about quality content, creation of programs, buying equipment, creation of production, and we need money for this. And Suspilne and Supervisory Board deals not only with this, and my colleague is going to tell us more about these topics. Thank you. Viktor, and this lack of financing, this is half of budget for this year. We lack half of budget this year. So this should be provided by the state. Last year we lacked 25%, this year we lack 50%, and so we may see the trend for the next years. And the problem is that the mechanism of financing that is envisaged by law, it is a weak guarantee. This is lack of guarantee of financing. We may start that financing of stability of financing of public broadcasting is the precondition for its existence, and this is the proper sign of this. And in Europe, there is a standard that the parliaments of the countries should provide properly for public broadcasting and provide long-term financing. And there are many parameters and standards for this financing, and politicians should not interfere in the yearly budget of the public broadcasting. And we understand that public broadcasting is more regulated than commercial channels because they use public funds, whether they come from the state or people pay yearly license fee for the use of for this. And in any case, this is money of taxpayers, and the state, it sets proper requirements, so we cannot be fully independent from politicians concerning the budget. But now the state should finance 0.2% and there is proper formula. But we can look in the budget code, and this provision about 0.2%, this depends on the cabinet of ministers. So it can be so the cabinet ministers, they propose the financing and they consider the budget, but they now speak about 70% of the sum, and the parliament also cut the sum, and we've got 50% of financing. So the law does not provide a proper guarantee in this way. So we've studied how our other institutions are financed, those that should be free from the influence of politicians. We considered the court system, judiciary, and we are far from independence. I'm speaking about judges because of political reasons. But if we are speaking about financing, we can be independent. They have special tax that goes for financing of court system. This is court fee when we submit our case to the court, or a corrupt individual provides money when they want to have this. If he flees, this sum goes for the courts, for judges, and the court fee that we pay for any case when we submit our case to the court. So this is special fund, and this court fee, it goes to special file for judiciary system, for court system, and we should have special budget proceed, and that should be established by the budget code, and then it will be impossible to intervene in this process. A politician won't be able to take money from this fund, and money that was got, it should be provided for this need, for the needs of public broadcasting, and we understand that it is impossible to introduce a new tax because we have a high tax load and business suffers from high taxes. That's why it is not necessary to introduce new tax. We should find existing tax and to redirect it and to direct it to public broadcasting. This is the rent for the use of frequencies. This is paid by mobile phone operators and tele and radio broadcasters who use frequencies, mobile communication, television, radio, and radio amateurs, but they do not pay this rent. They use these frequencies, but they do not pay for these rents. So we need 50% from this, and this budget will be completed at 95%, and with this budget, with this volume of money that will provide for 95% of our needs, we will be able to live on this. And if this mechanism is introduced, there will be proper guarantee that will help us to plan our activity, not to wait for money from the state budget. Because this underpins the guarantees there should be proper development of the company. If you depend on the money, and they, for example, may provide even 10% from the budget that is needed. So we brought this idea from the Lithuania. The Council of Europe helped us with the visit, and the director of LRT, the broadcaster in Lithuania, the director, Mr. Zurab, told us that before the introduction of this model, he spent 3 or 4 months in the parliament trying to get financing for public broadcasting, and it was difficult, and the politicians, they opposed, and they wanted to get reports from him, but this reporting, it should not be the ground for cutting funds. And sometimes it is really, the situation is really hot when the reports are considered. We are really to report before the parliament, before the society. We are not afraid to report, but this cannot be the ground for the cut of the budget. There should be proper guarantees for public broadcasting to be independent, and they should not cut money for the programs, or they may come and say that you are inefficient. But first of all, there may be critical programs that some people won't like, and we believe that the use of rent for the use of the frequencies, this is a good way to finance, and the Council of Europe also supports this idea, and the representatives of different international institutions support us, and Commissioner Hahn is support this idea. He analyzes the situation in many countries, European countries and outside EU, and the proposed model of financing is really constructive, and Commissioner Hahn and Euro Commission will do everything possible to help public broadcaster to become more financially stable. So, speaking about legislative changes, I would like to give the floor to Ihor Rozkladai, lawyer of the Institute of Media Law, and they worked with on the development of legislation. And do we have changes? Will we have these changes in the parliament? And what is needed for public broadcasting to develop really when we are speaking about public broadcasting. The story started in 1994. The Minister of Information, there was the Ministry of Information, the minister signed at the conference in Prague that was called the Future of Public Broadcasting, Public Service Broadcasting. It is called, and in 3 years there was draft law that became law soon, and this law was adopted, and bylaws were developed, but the power was not interested in public broadcasting, and the National Council found the collision of the two terms, and they stopped the proceedings, and in 2005 Yushchenko promised to create public broadcasting, and there was draft law that went through first reading, but it failed also because the power didn't want to support this project. Yanukovych, when he came to power, and Anna German initiated at the council to create a working group that worked on the draft law on public broadcasting, and this draft law became law in 2014, and reformers had a dilemma whether to adopt this and what to update it and what to try to create something new, but with the vague prospects. And they introduced some changes, some amendments, and adopted this law. And the European experts called it a framework law, and no one knew here what to do next. And in 2014 they started the work that led to two changes to the law, the changes of 2015. And in 2016, because of the sabotage of Ukrainian studio telefilm, and also the resolution of the problem was postponed, and but it allowed some changes in and in the system. More than 10,000 people were working, and some people left, and the rest, they left in the process of reforms. And the law envisages how to start the process about the board, about supervisory board, and the law should be changed because we need stability and development, and we should remove those articles that envisage the launch of public broadcasting. There should be articles about financing, and we have such a draft law that is in the parliament, and also there should be proper guarantees of independence of supervisory board and managing board. Because of the unstable parliament, there is risk of interference in supervisory board, and this can lead to further ping pong, and it can reflect on the board. And also they should remove the words about the protection of family and cultural values. Yes, we should take care of this, but we should not ignore other groups in society, and we should not focus on one group because this is not correct. And now, first changes should be the change of financial model. That is simple and difficult at the same time. These changes are rather simple. They envisage the changes of 2 lines and 2 articles in the basic law, and the difficulty is that it should be done in package because of legal procedure that doesn't allow to introduce changes to the code together with changes in the law. So this will be one of the difficulties, how to implement this into the legislation. Also in the law, there is a political article. Why political? Because this was a political compromise between the draft law by the representatives of the committee and draft law of Mykola Damienka and the moratorium on rejection of any property. So public broadcasting, it cannot sell facilities that are not needed. It should support it and pay all the fees, all the taxes, and the maximum what they can do is the rent. Maybe it was correct before, it was protection, but further support of a lot of square meters, this is not efficient management, this is not efficient model. That's why this norm should be removed from the law, and this is one of the things that needs further changes. And also on the whole, we hope that during the year the Parliament will start to consider the law on media services, and this will change our media landscape, and public media will remain will become the provider of media services, and it shows that not only classical TV and radio are important, but also other sources of content, starting from technological platforms and the provision of content to audience that is needed. So these can be mobile applications, YouTube, that children really like. And this is all from me. So this is briefly about this. So we have chances, and we will look at and see whether the Parliament will be able to take proper decisions. And the Supervisory report and Reanimation Package of Reforms and all other organizations, we will try to help you in this. So we are really glad and we are really thankful for the colleagues that stated this case. And now maybe you have some questions, please ask. Good afternoon, Evgen, Day newspaper. I have such a question. And what are the main problems, top minuses you faced when you carried out reforms, and the top main pluses when you can say that that's what we wanted and we are happy that we were able to achieve it? So 3 reasons and 3 victories. Finances. The state does not deliver. And the big minus is also, but we are mainly Soviet-style thinkers. People do not want changes. I understand that people like stability, but there is opposition. Big opposition we faced in many oblasts. So people didn't want to have changes. And as Ihor said, the biggest reason of Ukraine is mistrust of everyone to everyone. That's why it is difficult to carry out reforms. So the biggest victory is people. So when you have critical number of people who are able to carry out reforms, you understand that the process began, and there are such people who work there, 30% of them, and we hope that we will have these proper changes. So first reason is populism. Those norms about the protection of property, this populism and the sabotage. And we saw sabotage in the course of reforms, not from the this was, for example, in Lviv, people with petitions that public broadcasting should not be created because we have information war. And next is lack of financing. About positive things, first, that the reform succeeded despite everything, because this is the third attempt, 24-year story that succeeded despite all the problems, all the risks. But this is victory, and there is a team of such people who carried out this reform. They continue to carry out this reform, and there is sabotage, but there are people who really try to move forward and carry out reforms. And one more victory, that yes, we have results. Of course, we want better quality, but the news, they become more of quality, and the reform should continue. We shouldn't wait for quick results, and there is such an analogy. Remember that this building is the museum of Lenin, and this is still the Museum of Lenin visually. There is lack of Ukrainian things. You can imagine that these were, you understand that this is the Lenin's museum. And due to the law on decolonization, some symbols were removed. But you understand that reforms, they are not quick a priori, because this is about money and this is about people who are not ready for changes. And now from Supervisory Board. So now I will speak only about challenges. About positive things, my colleague said. So first, I believe that the first and the main challenge in the support of society, the support of society for public broadcasting, because we do not properly communicate with people, and we should do it in the situation. We should communicate with citizens and with the politicians. We should explain to them what public broadcasting is and why the independence of it is important. And this is the main challenge. If we do not build this proper communication, this will lead to the failure of reform. And the next is financial stability. We understand that this year we have a big gap in the budget, and we will burn a lot of resources, and this won't be done in vain. But we should understand what will happen today and what will happen tomorrow, because otherwise reform will stop. So we should fight for financing this year, but we should understand that this financial models should be stable. And the third thing is the attempts of political interference in the editorial policy. This year they tried, and last year they tried several times to interfere in the editorial policy, and they tried to provide 20 minutes for deputies to broadcast some information about them, and they got accustomed to this. And they wanted to do it on public television, but this contradicts European standards. the politicians, they cannot get time for free if there's no emergency situation. So only it should be, decision should be taken by public broadcasters, and we will defend our independence and independence of our editorial policy and the independence of our content that we bring. So we have, so let's have Alexander Voronin, Radio Hayat. Did you study the experience of post-Soviet countries concerning this? The reorganization and the experience of the West and the organization of debates, because we have elections ahead of us, and about the legislation and provision of broadcasting time. Yes, we did it. We know that there will be debates. Thank you very much, dear colleagues.
Удачи.